Atlanta's #1 radio stations, Swanky 93.3 and The Heat 94.6 radio stations, has you covered. From our studios to our newsroom at K.L.P. Entertainment. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more.
Jack is crafted at the oldest registered distillery in the United States, where it's charcoal mellowed drop by drop for a smooth finish. Which isn't the easy way, but it is Jack's way.
So many hotels.
Trouble booking the family vacay? Come on.
Comfort us free hot breakfast for the whole fam.
They have waffles. And splendid pools.
Book direct at choicehotels.com.
The latest show goes after hours. The Beyond Swanky podcast with Kennedy Lucas brings out more for our Lucas Nation fans. Tune in for reviews, topics, and even special guests. We go beyond the swankiness as it's juicy as hell with our DJ Lou Pezzi, playing nothing but the hits on the Spotify podcast version. Live from our studio of Swanky Studios, it's the Beyond Swanky podcast with Kennedy Lucas on Atlanta's #1 stations, Swanky 93.3 and the Heat 94.6 radio station. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more.
Today's a big day for the New York Giants. If by 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock our time, they don't come to a long-term agreement with Saquon Barkley, their star running back, he's franchise tag. That's an NFL rule. They probably have to sign him to a long-term contract. That's what they're doing today. So Daniel Jones' worst year, lowest passer rating was in 2020. That was the year that Saquon Barkley played like a game and was hurt. So the Giants, and by the way, this is what happens when you have a very average quarterback that you've committed nearly $40 million a year to, and for you to be good, he has to flourish, and they're totally dependent on Saquon Barkley being here. In fact, we have a graph that we'll put up right now. Last year, this is the, fourth year of Daniel Jones. Justin Herbert, Burrow, Mahomes, they pop early. Jalen Hurts pops in year 2. 4 years in, if he has less than 100 yards rushing behind him, he's bad. 86 passer rating, 5-7-1. He is totally dependent on a run game, and Saquon Barkley's obviously great. So this is really, though, the Giants are, and I know you think I'm picking on New York, but it is again an illustration of why New York teams are always, seemingly for the last decade, a mess. They've got lots of money. They think they can buy championships, but the Giants had an owner, and it looks like, though it will be denied, that he meddled in these negotiations and signed him to a long-term deal because he looks like Eli Manning and had the same college coach as Eli Manning, and he can sense Eli Manning, and Eli Manning took a while to get going, but Eli Manning was a lot more talented college quarterback than Daniel Jones. Now, this is also a Giants team where the coach and the GM, currently both very good, are trying to recover from a previously incompetent head coach and incompetent general manager. And it's also a roster, Jets too, where most of your talent is on the wrong side of the ball. But at least the Jets go out and get Aaron Rodgers. The Giants are now stuck with Daniel Jones. Add in, and you see this all the time with New York teams, unrealistic expectations. The over-under for the Giants is a very reasonable 7.5 wins. I'd bet the under. 7-10. I'd bet the under. My guess is J-Mac would bet the under. And why are they in this mess? Because Dave Gettleman tried to buy a bunch of players, and almost none of them worked. So smart teams like the Chiefs come in and get Tony. He'll be highly productive, and the Giants couldn't figure out how to make it work. Welcome. The baseball teams, the Yankees are now tied for last place. The Mets are unraveling. Huge payrolls. Nobody can hit. Your basketball team, the Brooklyn Nets, was a disaster. They tried to buy relevance. Classic New York. And the Jets are trying to get Aaron Rodgers to solve their long issues. They haven't been to the playoffs longer than any other team, and that includes like Washington, Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago. And their NFL teams basically are both rebuilding, but neither wants to admit it. So what the Giants really are, and it's a bad place to be in sports, they're trapped. But in the NFL, it's the weakest players union, and so you got to be poorly run to get trapped. Like in baseball, there's nothing you can do. If you want Mookie Betts, you better sign a 10-year deal. If he gets hurt 3 years into it, what are you going to do? In the NBA, again, the players union, the players have more power. Same in international soccer. But in football, you can get rid of anybody. Could have gotten rid of Tom Brady in his prime, and it wouldn't hurt you that much for more than a year. New England for 20 years never got trapped. They moved off players constantly. By the way, the Kansas City Chiefs, Orlando Brown, see ya. Honey Badger, see ya. Tyreek Hill, see ya. Never got trapped. The Giants are in the place you should never get in the NFL. There's no excuse for it, because it's not a terribly strong players union. You can identify talent because unlike basketball, you get 3 and 4 years of videotape. You should do your homework and have fewer whiffs in the draft. NBA teams get 1 year of college video, high school video becomes important. I understand whiffs in the NBA. There's no reason to whiff constantly on draft picks. No reason to overspend in free agency. It's not a strong players union. You shouldn't get trapped. And here the Giants are. Today, absolutely trapped. So they're going to have to sign a running back who I like a lot with a history of injuries to a big contract, or else they'll franchise tag him and he's not going to be happy. And this all started with reaching for a quarterback who sort of looked like Eli Manning, who had the same college coach as Eli Manning, and they took a big swing, and they reached, and everybody knew they reached, and now they're 4 years into it, 5 years into it, and trapped. There's really no excuse for it. The good NFL teeth. By the way, Philadelphia Eagles, they bottomed out for a year. Boom, back on top. Eric, you get Rams, Super Bowl, bottomed out. This year's draft, replenishing, probably a year away. They'll be fine. That's the way it's okay to bottom out, but there's no excuse to be where the Giants are. And I think because you have an average quarterback that you've put basically $37 million a year into, because he won a couple of games against the Vikings' awful defense, now you have to sign Saquon. That's not where you want to be in this league. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs had a running back who they were disappointed with. They went and got a one in the 7th. They move off Tyreek Hill, Orlando Brown, Honey Badger. So we'll keep you updated on the Giants, though. My guess is they're going to have to sign Saquon Barkley because he doesn't want to play in a franchise tag. And Daniel Jones, without Saquon Barkley, this is a bad football team. It really will be. Their talent's almost all on defense. All right, so I saw this yesterday, and we kept going back and forth on this. DeAndre Hopkins was down to New England or Tennessee. And I think, a good player, it's not Randy Moss anymore, but he's a good player, is going to go to a good coach and a pretty good organization. So he should help them win another game in a wonky division. But it's more of an indictment on New England. Think about this. So I'm a star receiver, and in the NFL, you're as good as your wide receiver. Even Larry Fitzgerald's numbers came down. The quarterback position wasn't as good. Look at Randy Moss, how great he was. Look at his numbers with Tom Brady. Look at his numbers elsewhere. So DeAndre Hopkins did not choose Belichick, with 6-7 Super Bowl rings. Did not choose offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien, who won a division with Brock Osweiler. He didn't choose Mac Jones, a first-round pick who's clearly their number one quarterback. No, he chose Tennessee with a shaky offensive line, running back dominant, and you have no idea what the future is at quarterback. Will Levis, Malik Willis, Ryan Tannehill, and yet Vrabel sold him on it. And that's all this was. Free agency is salesmanship. It's a little bit like college football inserted into pro football. Mike Vrabel's younger than Belichick, probably a little less rigid, former player, and he sold him. And I don't think, we're not talking about D-Hop is Randy Moss is going to change everything, but if you told me DeAndre Hopkins, now with Trey Burks, is worth a game in that division, the difference between 9-10 or 8-9, they got a very good defense, that's the difference between not making the playoffs and making the playoffs. It's a weak division. There's only one weak division in the AFC. The other three, AFC East, AFC North, and AFC West, are stacked. Okay, stacked. So New England really needed him. Tennessee needed him. And Tennessee got him. Patriots paid $33 million potentially for Devontae Parker 3 years. Titans paid $32 million for the much better wide receiver for just 2 years. They don't like it, they can get out of it. So I think Tennessee wins here. And it is just incredibly hard. This is not a strong opinion. This is obvious for all of us. It's hard to win in 2023 without weapons. New England has none. I mean, if the Patriots were a car, they'd be a stock base model. You know what I mean? No key fob. Have to roll up your own windows. You'd be driving on 4 spares. I mean, there's just nothing there. Juju Smith-Schuster should be a 3. That's what he was at Kansas City. Sometimes a 2. So you're talking about D-Hop may not be Randy Moss, but at least he's power steering. He's fresh new tires. He's automated. To me, this is more of an indictment on New England. Again, can't sell their vision offensively. I mean, Bill O'Brien got to the playoffs 4 different times. Belichick's a legend. Mac Jones, say what you want, is clearly the future at quarterback. They couldn't sell that over a run. I'm a wide receiver. A run-dominant team with most of their talent, overwhelmingly their talent on defense. And they don't know what the quarterback is by November. And they won. So I think, in that, there's only one weak AFC division. Does D-Hop equal one more win? I think he does. I think he takes them from 8 to 9 or 9 to 10. And that's why, we're all looking at these great divisions in the AFC. But the truth is the NFC South is a hot mess. And the AFC South isn't much better. So the wild card team may very well come from those divisions if you can get to 10 wins. So I think it's a fairly substantial move. Not a great player. He's a good player for a team that desperately needed another receiver.
Saquon Barkley's upset. Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry. Running backs very upset. I hear this chorus of everybody defending running backs. Where were all you people for 40 years defending safeties, tight ends, interior linemen? Running backs care about running backs. I get it. We all care about ourselves. But the NFL, all sports actually, are always evolving. People are getting paid differently now. Basketball analytics, the shooter is now more valuable than the rebounder. The shooter. Basketball analytics changed everything. Baseball analytics. What would Tony Gwynn now fetch on the market, or Wade Boggs? People want power. Due to rule changes in the NFL, top wide receivers now make what quarterbacks did 10 years ago. Tight ends are now finally getting theirs. Finally, running backs have made theirs forever. Because of rule changes, concerns about safety, you can't grab a receiver, you can't cover a receiver, you can't hit a wide receiver. They now attack you and the middle of the field. Receivers and tight ends used to avoid the middle of the field. Now they attack it. New rule changes. Running backs, as I've said for years, are the last offensive player. You can hit anytime, anywhere, from any angle. The entire league is being protected, and they're the last piñata. And they don't last as long. And by the way, all businesses evolve. Trees don't grow to the sky. There's no guaranteed jobs or income. Pilots make less than ever. Why? Cockpits are more automated. I saw a study this weekend where 35% of pilots acknowledge they nap during flights. In my business, I started in local TV. Did sports, it's been mostly eliminated. Amazon, you buy things, they show up 6 hours later at your house. That's why malls are empty. Remember when there used to be travel agents? Everything changes. Taxis have been eliminated by Uber. Home phones eliminated by iPhones. It's not that I don't have sympathy, but you got to evolve. Back to the basket centers are dinosaurs, relics, Jurassic. Jokic is the new center. All you young guys, learn to pass and shoot. Be able to run the floor, put the ball on it too. Running backs will still get paid. Saquon Barkley's getting $10 million a year. How much do you make? You have to be excellent, healthy, versatile, And man, does it help if you play with a second-tier quarterback or an overpaid one. The Giants, by the way, did make an offer. They were really close, but Saquon rolled the dice. Eventually, players have to settle for the franchise tag, which they've agreed to. But nothing's guaranteed for life. I tell people this all the time. I've been scrambling, it feels like, for 35 years. You know, did local TV, did local radio. Now I write books. I have a new beer. You do what you gotta do. There's no guaranteed jobs. I'm watching Hollywood right now. Actors and writers. It's crazy that because of new technology and AI, the studios now want to scan extras. Not the movie star, but the extras. That's a real career, right? Most actors are extras. They want to scan you once and then use it forever. Don't want to have to pay you for 4.5 months. Don't want to have to feed you for 4.5 months. Don't want to have to insure you for 4.5 months. That's crazy to me. But that's what technology does. I would put a foot down if I was an actor. Most actors, it should be noted, have side hustles. Do you know you have to make $26,000 a year to get insurance from SAG-AFTRA? They represent actors. 87% of actors don't qualify. Side hustle's part of it. It's hard. I think we need writers. I won't watch stuff with bad writers, but I'll watch football without running backs. But I don't like it as much. I don't like the CFL. They pass too much. I like running backs. I like physicality. I think Austin Eckler is absolutely worth something. I think Saquon Barkley is. Derrick Henry. Josh Jacobs, I said yesterday on the show, has a robust market to me. If I had a young quarterback and wasn't paying him, I would love Josh Jacobs. They will still get paid. But I've been watching football my entire life. Interior linemen. Those careers end overnight. Their hands all ripped up. Their shoulder surgeries and knees. Mark Schlereth had 30 surgeries. We never had any sympathy for interior linemen. Safeties forever. Major collisions. Last on the food chain of getting paid. Tight ends forever were viewed as blockers and little else. Everything changes. Analytics are changing baseball and football and basketball and probably, if I followed it closely enough, hockey. Running backs will still get paid, but this is the world we live in with technology and analytics. Side hustles, take a little less, be part of a winning team. Saquon Barkley was offered a longer deal. They got really close. He rolled the dice. It backfired. Not everybody gets what they want. I have sympathy for Austin Eckler. Bring him on the show. Think he's excellent. Think he's really underrated. And I think he's going to get paid by somebody. If you watch football long enough, this is what happens. It ebbs and flows. Right now, we're saying running backs don't matter. For the record, it used to be dangerous to have your quarterback run. Now it's hard to draft a quarterback unless he does run, at least a little. That's what's great about football. They're current. Unlike baseball, they don't wait forever to get stuff right. They're current. They move. Maybe now they're moving too quickly. Maybe now they're disrespecting running backs too much. There's an argument to be made. I'm the Chargers. I want Austin Eckler in the backfield. I'm the Bengals. I want Joe Mixon in the backfield. And I don't know what the Giants' offense is without Saquon Barkley. Boring is a good place to start. He's worth something, but he's going to make $10 million for a year. And if he stays healthy and is productive and talented and works as hard as he has, there will be a market for him. It's just not the market it was maybe 10 years ago. Speaking of New York football, the Jets are going to now limit, did we call this, HBO's access in Hard Knocks. They're going to limit what they can do. Aaron Rodgers, always interesting, always handsome, is probably the reason they're doing Hard Knocks with the Jets. Nothing against HBO, great company. The end is fairly inevitable with Hard Knocks. Maybe they have to add a baby next year. Isn't that what they do when shows are dying? Add a baby or a pet. It feels like Netflix quarterback series talks about the one position I care about. Gives you a little bit of their family, Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, Marcus Mariota. I prefer that show. I haven't been into Hard Knocks for years. I also have so much access to NFL guys. Listening to coaches and players doesn't interest me as much as it does meeting Patrick Mahomes or Kirk Cousins or Marcus Mariota's family. I like the Netflix docuseries. So the Jets are the Raiders. Sometimes it feels like they're close, but they're not the Raiders, which are a bubbling volcano where there's molten lava right under the surface ready to explode. But it could go south very quickly for the Jets. A prickly, wealthy, handsome veteran quarterback with the worst offensive line in his career. A head coach on the hot seat who always has strong opinions. A semi-meddling owner, an unrealistic fan base, an improved division, and it's New York. The Jets could go south very fast. Add in a brutal early schedule. I looked at it this morning. 2-4 is very possible. They face great quarterbacks, great coaches, or both in Kansas City in the first 6 weeks. 2-4 could happen. You think that New England game's a gimme. I got news for you. When Belichick's the gimme on your schedule, and you're a quarterback with a new offense and a bad O-line, that ain't much of a gimme. The NFL is so corporate and has been more and more every decade, they usually squeeze the personality out of teams. But Rex Ryan was on this show because he had a big personality. Aaron Rodgers is on this show because he is more interesting. Aaron's like Phil Mickelson in golf. Winning or losing, I can't take my eyes off him. Aaron Rodgers losing to Goff at home, I can't take my eyes off it. Aaron Rodgers winning, going up against the Brady, can't take my eyes off it. I said this last week. It's not a hot take. The reason the Jets are on this is not their mostly young and uninteresting roster. It's Aaron Rodgers. And it's Robert Saleh. They look like actors. They're confident. They're outspoken. They'll give you strong, strident opinions. They're fascinating. I'm rooting for Saleh, and believe it or not, I want to see Aaron succeed. Who wants to watch a bad Jets team?
I was thinking this morning, what is pressure at quarterback in the NFL? Who faces real pressure in the NFL? And I don't think it's fair to heap it on guys like Cousins and Dak. And I said that last week and the week before. I think there's 5 quarterbacks who are going to face unique pressure. Number 1 is Justin Fields. He's completed 59% of his throws in 2 years and has the worst record of any starting quarterback in 2 years, 5-20. Now they got him pieces. Excuses are over. Big market media, they want wins. He's been given all sorts of help now. Get W's. Andrew Luck went 11-5, 11-5, 11-5 with the worst roster. Get W's. Number 2 is Tua. They were 8-0 last year when he was standing upright. 3 concussions though last season, career in peril if he gets another one. It may be unfair health pressure and safety pressure, but he's playing for a contract. When he's healthy, they're good. Can he stay healthy? At this point, none of us know. Number 3 is Russell Wilson. Sean Payton's going nowhere. Russell may be going somewhere. He's got to be better. I don't believe he's washed. I think he rebounds. But he's coming off the worst season in his career and appeared reluctant to play the kind of style he needs to win, which is keep moving, bro. You're very instinctual. Lean into it, not away from it. Number 4, and he's already minted, but Aaron Rodgers. It's New York, it's a new team. He's a Hall of Famer. But there's some pressure here. Hard knocks, high expectations, J-Mac guaranteeing a Super Bowl trip. I mean, he's minted, right? We all know. If he doesn't win a Super Bowl, it's fine. Joe Montana went to Kansas City, got to the playoff, didn't win a Super Bowl. Nobody holds it against him. And number 5, Matt Stafford, 35 years old, could blame the offensive line, did get the Rams a Super Bowl, but I was told they tried to redo his contract in the offseason. He didn't want to do it. Sean McVay has shown an ability to fall out of love very quickly with even guys capable of getting you to a Super Bowl.